Oh, hi all, and welcome back to the John Deere B tractor restoration. And you might be thinking, blimey, where are we today? Well, that's looking up inside the engine oil filter housing. And if you recall the last video that I posted, or one of the last ones before this one, we discussed about the distortion of the top of this housing due to over tightening of the nut that holds the cup on the bottom of the filter. And as you can see, obviously I've got a flat plate on top of that hole on top of that housing at the moment, and as you can see there's a dark area around it. Well, that is about 3/16 of a gap, 3/16 of an inch of a gap. And of course what happens is that you lose oil pressure through there due to that distortion. So the plan is to you put a steel punch up over through this hole and square all the bottom of this, all the top of this housing up. So that's what the plan is. If I just pan this back, you can see this groove here, hopefully, and that groove is where that new oil seal fits in. And generally what you find is that when you take these to bits, you find that the old oil seal is all packed in to that groove and you can't get a decent seal, and hence why you get people over tightening the nut, thinking they're tightening it all up, which it does tighten it up, but it distorts that housing by pulling the pressure relief valve casting body into it. So I will square this up. I have a bar that I'll tap it all up over, and it won't get it 100%, but it'll certainly improve the gap. By the time you get a bit of gasket in there, it'll be great. It'll be spot on. So if I come out from underneath the tractor, and you can then see what I've done. If I can get out without dropping the camera, there we go. And then you can see what I've done. So there you have the that metal plate, like so, across the top of the housing, and then I have a bit of threaded bar that comes up to a piece of angle iron, which I have across the crankcase cover hole underneath, and then on the top, as you can see there, is the crankcase, is the angle, and a threaded bar, and it's nice and tight. And then you can beat up from underneath and square that housing up. This one actually is particularly bad. I can see from here, it doesn't show up too well, but I can see from here that it actually is all collapsed on an angle. So it's just going to be squaring it up best you can. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but that's what's happened to it. I think it'll square back up, and it'll be as good as it is. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there'll be a lot of tractors out there that that housing will be like that, and nobody will know or realise, and they run fine. I mean, they're only running on 10 or 15 pounds square inch of oil pressure, so it's not a high oil pressure. It's volume. I keep saying it's volume with these pumps, and that's the secret with these pumps, is that it's the volume of oil that is been pumped around. It's not the pressure that is the thing. It's volume of oil. So back on the bench here. We have all sorts on the bench. We've been painting one or two parts, and as you can see, there's that pressure relief valve, top part of the cover, and the oil pressure with the adjustable pressure relief valve. Looking on the last video, a little bit misleading possibly, probably not, but I said, oh, the oil comes squirting out of here. Well, it does, but of course all this is doing is regulating a constant pressure within the relief valve body and through all the oil feed lines. That's all it's doing. It's just regulating, making sure you have this constant pressure of oil, so the pressure's not going up and down as the engine revs up or slows down. It regulates the pressure, and therefore it's you know, as I say, 10 or 15 pounds coming out of these lines through this body, which is that thing sits on this sits on top of here, and that's that valve again. That is the valve for you know, if for what reason you should have a plugged oil filter, or if the oil's just so thick it can't get through the oil filter. And that has a fixed pressure spring on it, which is held down inside the housing and lifts when the oil is too thick to go through the filter. But of course this one here, as I say, is adjustable, and you adjust this one after you've got the engine rebuilt. It suggests that you adjust the pressure on this spring from the top of the crankcase through the crankcase cover. On the later models, the later Model B, the one with the steel frame, the big steel front frame, and the later one before it became the 50, you actually adjusted that valve. This valve you could adjust through the side of the tractor, whereas this one you've got to take the crankcase cover off and all sorts to get to it, which is a bit of a fiddle really, especially with such as this tractor, which obviously is the electric start one, so you'll have to take the starter motor off and fiddle in. I think you might even have the battery to take off to be able to get to it. So that's what it is, I'm afraid. So yeah, so that's what we're doing at the moment. So I'm going to square up that filter housing, and then I can pan you back around here. I can get this pressure relief valve put on, and its top part put on and bolted up. They bolt up through the bottom of the filter housing, up through the bottom. Bit fiddly, but it's doable. Obviously, it's doable. Yeah. Okay then. Thank you now. Bye.